Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday, the 1st of August. So, looking at the euro, and well, yesterday we ended up with a pretty strong upward day. We broke through the weekly 200. I've been talking about this as a target. It actually broke through it yesterday with some gust, and it's left us with this sort of relatively bullish candle that's still sitting there. So obviously, yet to be completed. However, short term, let's see what's happening, and you can see marginal divergence at the highs here and of yesterday. A couple of factors that might draw it down. We've still got the weekly and now the monthly pivots sitting below. They often form a bit of a draw. Sometimes, or more likely, in the earlier part of the month, we see them hit mainly because price is closer to them. So it'll be interesting if price does start coming down, selling off. Well, that always seems like a decent target. In fact, you can see it better here on the 4-hourly. There's the weekly and there's the monthly figures below. Now, nothing really clear on there. On the dailies here, daily pivot, sorry, with the 60-minute bar. See, at the moment we've put in a slightly lower high coming through. You can see a bit of a divergence on the hourlies there leading into the new day. It is sort of at the moment the RSI is dropping, so its price is looking pretty close, heading down towards its daily pivot maybe. As I said, if we start seeing a rollover and a more significant rollover, then the weekly, monthly pivot becomes targets. At the moment, it's pretty bullish. A bounce off the daily pivot may take us back up to yesterday's highs, maybe even further. The pivot's been stretched out. The R1's up there. Would be a nice target there at 118.80-ish area. The pound also got a good kicker in yesterday, shifted up nicely in the afternoon there. No divergences here, it's just strength showing on the pound really. Similar picture in terms of the pivots below, which may, as I said, at some point become targets. At the moment though, the strength seems to be kicking through. There is a sort of a minor divergence kicking through at the moment on the hourly time frame here, which could see it running back also towards the daily pivot, which is at the moment sitting below. Wouldn't be surprised if we don't at least get back to the 60-20s, but as I say, may just run through into that daily pivot. Anything that decent bounce off that area, well, I'll back up to today's highs, maybe the R1. If it starts rolling over, then as I said, the targets of the weekly, monthly pivots seem pretty sensible, but it can be very, very slow in these markets. We've got little out, although we have got a kicker this morning for the that might affect the pound, which I'll come on to in a moment. Okay, dollar yen. Dollar yen again selling off following the trend. You see it's so far much easier on the trend. During the last month, I was sort of getting a bit bullish and thinking, well, this may break up here and push up, but it's just continued down. Yesterday was no exception in terms of the trend just wanting to take it away, as it was with the pound and the euro. If it sold here, didn't come back to any of its pivots. Again, it's got pivots sitting above us here. There's a bit of divergence into the low, so maybe we'll see some weakness. But we've seen this same sort of picture of divergence across most of these markets on the lows here of the dollar yen and the pound dollar and the euro dollar on the highs there. So maybe we'll see a bit more correction. The yen has already caught the daily pivot, and well, any reversals this morning to the downside would be looking back towards the S1, maybe even the S2. It's very tight range it's sitting in here. Aussie dollar, let's come out to a bigger time frame here. Again, yesterday it was a bit of a mild old day, never really did too much, but there was the Reserve Bank of Australia's rate statement that was due out at 5:30 this morning, so that probably slowed it down a little bit. Looking for a reaction to that. It's not done much at all in terms of, well, since we've had that data come out, the rate statement at 5:30, and they left the rate unchanged, and the RBA just mentioned the weak US dollar here. Anyway, so from what we're seeing, again, same sort of picture. We did actually catch its weekly pivot yesterday, but if anything, it looks a little bit weaker here. Maybe that's the one that sort of rolls beyond. It's got a daily pivot below us, maybe rolling beyond and pushing back a little bit more, heading off towards at some point that monthly pivot maybe. But at the moment, certainly weak in this shorter time frame. And let's have a look at the Canadian dollar. In fact, I'd just like to keep an eye on what's happening with oil here before I talk about the Canadian dollar. Yep, it has pushed up above the $50 mark now. So what we're seeing here then, yesterday did get a little bite back up yesterday. Canadian dollar broke the trend against the other US dollar backed currencies. This one, it actually managed a bit of a rally, although pulling back late in the session, but it did, as I say, push up yesterday. But that was stifled by the 4-hourly 50. We see a break of that, well then it opens up the possibly a bigger correction here. I've talked about a potential correction, but mostly for me, particularly when you start coming down to this 60-minute, it looks choppy. This market's really okay. We had some significant data out last week, but this data or this price action is pretty difficult to read. If anything, it may with these sort of higher lows coming in from this previous here and higher highs may on the upside, but it can turn quite quickly against you. Possible upside, well, we've got the just looking at the weekly pivots that we've got support all here, so maybe back into yesterday's highs if it runs the upside. Any failure, any break through this weekly pivot, I'd like to be short towards the previous lows there, the S1 zone, maybe even further down there. But to say, could bite you this one. It's chopping. It's looking like it may be in a turn on the bigger time frames potentially, but it's been slow. The easiest route is to the downside in the main. Okay, that's it for me. Hope you have a great day. Oh, sorry, news-wise, before I get off, at 9:30 we've got the UK manufacturing PMI, which is a significant number. First one of the PMI data due to be released at 9:30. Then following on from that, there's a European flash GDP data, which doesn't really give much of a kicker at 10, but I know people will be talking about it. Going beyond that, 3 p.m. we've got the ISM manufacturing PMI, that's US data, so same as the UK there, so manufacturing PMI due out there at 3 p.m. Okay, have a great day, bye for now.